Hi and welcome to LinkAsia. I'm Kit Do, sitting in for Tui Vu. 25 years ago, Beijing and many other cities in China were in trauma. Soldiers had assaulted students protesting in Tiananmen Square early on June 4th. Much of the assault was captured by TV cameras and broadcast all over the world. Thousands of students, angered by corruption and demanding political reform, camped out for more than a month in Tiananmen Square, the center of state power. The leaders saw the protest as a grave threat to their rule, not least because it seemed to be spreading to other cities and attracting intellectuals, ordinary Chinese, sometimes even party members. In the early morning of June 4th, the Communist Party leadership sent in troops and tanks. The students and their supporters were branded as counter-revolutionaries. It's still not known how many were killed. Figures range from 300 to several thousand. Today, the square was quiet. There were more police and security checks than usual to prevent anyone from demonstrating. Amnesty International says 66 people were detained in Beijing in the run-up to this week's anniversary. In one Beijing neighborhood, people seem not to care about what happened 25 years ago.
I think that kind of incident you mentioned will not happen again, because it's meaningless. Making a fuss about such a thing for such a long time is completely meaningless, right?
No, I don't know. Well, how do you put it? Sorry, I can't take this interview.
Mainstream Chinese media was forbidden from making any mention of the anniversary. Chinese censors also blocked social media users. Here's part of a list of 64 words and phrases that were not allowed to be used in the last month. 25 years, 25 years, May 35, that would be code for June 4th. Also forbidden, posts with the word square, mourn, this day, 25 anniversary, 64 plus massacre, 6 for 6 month or June, 64 plus open fire, 89 plus unrest. And the list comes from our friends at China Digital Times. So have Chinese authorities managed to suppress everything except its version of events at Tiananmen? And does it matter now? To help us answer these and other questions, we have Professor Perry Link of the University of California at Riverside. Professor Link was an editor of the Tiananmen Papers, a set of documents that recorded the way the top Chinese leaders decided on using massive force against the students. Professor Link joins us on Skype. Thank you.
It's a pleasure, sir.
Now, are you surprised at how easily the regime has managed to button things down this year? And what does it tell us about Xi Jinping?
They have buttoned things down, but it wasn't easy. They have hundreds of thousands of police that work on this kind of thing, including plainclothes police that have fanned out all across the country in the major cities, especially in Beijing, of course, but in the major cities, keeping the lid on things. What does it say about Xi Jinping? It says that he, perhaps even more than the previous regime of Hu Jintao, wants to keep the lid on this issue. Because if the story of Tiananmen massacre comes out as it happened, it's an embarrassing truth to a regime that pretends not to make mistakes and not to be wrong. If the top leadership is obliged to acknowledge that it was wrong about something as conspicuous as the Tiananmen massacre, then they lose political credibility and they fear loss of their political control.
Does this matter in China? I mean, after all, the country is more prosperous than ever before, and it seems like authorities are more responsive to problems like corruption, pollution, public health, natural disasters. They're even trying to curb police abuse. Didn't the party learn from these lessons?
I think we on the outside often think that the Chinese government is strong, it's wealthy, it's powerful, its diplomatic influence is increasing, it's rising, and so on. That overlooks the very important fact that inside China, it's tentative, it's fragile, it's touch and go. The leadership itself, why does it spend so much money and time and resources on Weiwan, maintaining stability, to translate directly? It's because it itself knows that things aren't that secure inside China. Why do the wealthy in China send their money and their children abroad? Why is emigration of the elite at a high these days? It doesn't speak well for the security, even of the people at the top in China.
And Professor Link, thank you very much. Perry Link teaches at the University of California in Riverside. He was one of the editors of the Tiananmen papers. Joining us now is Mark Dreyer, our contributor in Beijing. Mark, censors were working overtime in the past couple of days to purge any mention of Tiananmen, but we know there are some back channels that Chinese social media users have. What did you find?
There is a site in English called Free Weibo, which actually tracks which topics and which comments get deleted, and I can show you some of those comments now. I admire the students from those days, writes one person. They were the real backbone of our Chinese nation and were the ones most concerned about our country and people. Another person wrote an account of his day. I passed by Tiananmen Square and bought some medicine from a drugstore nearby. Security was tight. I lined up for close to 3 hours and nearly gave up. A foreign reporter filmed the long line for the security check and was asked by police to delete his photos. On my way back on the subway, I thought that the most important thing is to make sure a tragedy like this never happens again. And this one from a students' forum commenting on a recent news story about a pig jumping out of a truck. A pig knows how to seek freedom, but what about the people? Don't you feel ashamed? It's June the 4th.
Now, there was a vigil in Victoria Park in Hong Kong with record numbers on the night of June 4th. Presumably mention of that was blocked as well?
Yes, that's right. Again, I should point out that many of the younger generation in China don't even know that anything happened back in 1989 because of the relentless censorship we've had over the past 25 years, but plenty of others do. Here's a censored comment about that Hong Kong vigil that you mentioned. Today is Hong Kong's annual candle burning day. In addition to burning candles, we also celebrate it by stopping using the internet for the next few days. In fact, 8 of the top 10 hot searches on Free Weibo were concerned with the anniversary. 6/4, i.e. June the 4th, Tiananmen Square, Victoria Park in Hong Kong, candle, as in the vigil, today, and comments like this were being censored, if we forget today, we won't have tomorrow. 6/4, this time in English, 25th anniversary, and then Google. All of Google's services have been almost completely down for the past several days here, widely presumed to be because of the anniversary. And although many people use Baidu instead of Google to do their web searches, plenty of people in China still have a Gmail account or use some of the other services, Google Translate and so on. So lots of people have been talking about this, and I'll give you a sample of some of those comments. One person says, recently the Great Firewall seems to be higher. I can't access some websites I like. Google is completely blocked. I just want to search for some detailed info, that's all. Another person just says, special day, special situation. And then a final comment here, it doesn't matter, at least we still have American and European porn to watch. That should be enough.
Thanks, Mark. Mark Dreyer is LinkAsia's contributor in Beijing. I want to recommend a terrific multimedia summary of the events that led up to and followed the Tiananmen Massacre. It was put together for Hong Kong's South China Morning Post newspaper. Visit scmp.com and click on the Multimedia tab. We'll also post a link to the Tiananmen special on our Facebook page. Here's a little excerpt. It's from Communist Party elder Li Rui.
所以这六四这件事情呢，我认为是共产党执政以后犯的最大的错误之一。所以六四这个事情呢，在法律上也好，在中国共产党的执政犯的错误也好，是必须平反的。在世界上的影响大极了，对中国。台湾、香港，香港我知道嘛，每年嘛。
Li was Mao Zedong's secretary and a senior advisor to the party in the 1980s.
Now on U.S. airwaves, a global channel of uncompromising stories. World news, documentaries, entertainment, and culture. Link TV, connecting you to the world. For more information, visit linktv.org.